So hey guys, today we are going to go over the Upper Lambourne poem for your A-level first year exam. First of all, we need to see what the poem is about. This poem relates to the theme of time and how time changes and how prized possessions and high value possessions don't keep their values anymore. So if we look at the structure of the poem, we have a 4-stanza poem and sextet, which is 6 lines to every stanza. And it follows the rhyme scheme of an A, B, C, B, D, B rhyme scheme all the way through the poem. As you can see in the poem, I have highlighted the rhyme scheme for you so you can see how it works. I have highlighted every B in the rhyme scheme so you can see how it continues throughout the poem. The set structure throughout the poem of the 6 lines to every stanza and the rhyme scheme shows that change is inevitable to happen. So the structure could reflect time itself. Things look like they are going to stay the same forever, which is the structure of the poem. However, you realise it doesn't, and it isn't as it appears to be. So even though the structure makes you think that it will last forever, if you read the poem itself, you'll realise it doesn't. And it's not what it appears to be. If you look at Upper Lambourne itself, it is a place of horse racing and where horse racing used to take place. And this poem uses horse racing as a way to show how time has changed. Horse racing seems it's going to be successful forever in Upper Lambourne, as shown by some of the language which we're going to look at later. But the town moved on without the horse racing over time and it was forgotten, also shown in the poem which we will look at later. The use of anaphora of the word leathery is reference to horse equipment, and it is at the beginning of the line 3 times. And this shows how important horse racing was. However, it shows how time changed and it wasn't so important anymore. So if you look at the 3rd stanza, the word leathery has in a way been replaced and moved to a position in the poem that is less important. So as you can see, instead of it being at the start of the lines, like these 3 lines, it is now the 4th letter of the line, which shows how time has changed and it is less important. So now we're going to look at the structure. We're going to start with the horse racing references. So you have here, he who trained 100 winners paid the final entrance fee. We know this is a reference to a man who used to train winners for horse racing. We also have the leathery, which is a reference to horse equipment. We have leathery breeches and spreading stables and shining saddles. And obviously we have the string of horses. These are all references to the horse racing. Then we have the quotes that show change and how some things are forgotten through time. So if you look at this line here, to streak the stone Carrara headstone. So if we look at the specific word of Carrara, this is a very high quality stone, but now instead of it being high quality, it is now streaked. So it shows how over time it has changed from being a high valued item to now being quite unvaluable. We also have he who trained 100 winners paid the final entrance fee. This juxtaposition here is quite of high value, and it shows about this quote right here with this juxtaposition of he who trained 100 winners paid the final entrance fee is quite a big quote as it emphasises the change. Because of the juxtaposition, it shows and emphasises the change even more. Because to be a winner, there's nothing better. But then he paid the final entrance fee by dying, which shows a massive change and how his winning had been the biggest loss of all time, to die. You also have shining saddles left behind. This is also another juxtaposition which has quite a big emphasis on change. You have the saddles being described as shining and then all of a sudden being left behind, which shows how over time things become less valuable and less cared for and forgotten. And at the end of this stanza, of the 3rd stanza, we have out of sight and mind, which shows that horse racing wasn't cared for anymore and it was just forgotten and left behind. Then you have the quote of waves above the Sarsen stone. Sarsen stone is shortened for Saracen stone, which shows less care and how over time this has been less cared for and they just use a slang word instead, as they do not care enough to use the full name of this thing. You can also say that waves above, the word above can show that the stone's been submerged or lost or forgotten, and the waves have submerged it. Therefore, it is no longer valuable, it's no longer there, it's no longer visible. It shows how over time things can change and they're not there anymore. Then you have your semantic field of negativity. So you have words like headstone and neglected and moan and swelling and shade and nettles and run. All of these words sort of give the idea that the poet himself thought really negatively of change. We can use this to say that he is seeing it as it's negative and that change should not happen, and he likes things the way they are. We can also see that nature has the power to change time, the personification of nature in the poem. So you have shift the shade and make it run, shift the shade towards the nettles, and the nettles set it free to streak the strained Carrara's headstone. So this quote personifies nature itself. And nature is set free to streak the strained Carrara stone. So for the nature to streak such a high possession, like we said before, of the Carrara stone being, it shows how nature has the power to change time. So this is everything for Upper Lambourne. I hope this was useful for you. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I hope this was useful, and good luck in your exams. Goodbye.